thought of the day is about how behavior kind of shapes our neurology and shapes our brain. So, thinking about how we live our lives, what we're doing on a daily basis, within a filter of kind of a simpler way of understanding the nervous system at an applicable level. You could get into the weeds and absolute crazy details of all of it and really not be able to do anything with it. But trying to get it to a practical application is one of the biggest things that I think Z Health did was amazing, was taking very complex and orderly stuff and saying, hey, this is how you use it. So that has been fantastic. So if we think of our behavior in the 8 levels model of our nervous system and how our brains operate, receptors. So think about the receptors that you know. We have things for hot and cold. We have things for sharp and dull and crude touch and fine touch and vibration. Just our skin is very, very important. We have receptors, pressure receptors, stuff like that. Then all of those receptors feed into the peripheral nerves. The peripheral nerves are responsible for getting signals from our brain to our musculature in our body. It is also how our receptors feed things back up to our brain. Once we're through the receptors, we're into the peripheral nerves, up our limbs. Then we get into the spinal cord. Spinal cord is a really important structure. Like, it is a extension of our brain. So thinking about how you hold your spine, how you use your spine, what positions you find your spine in often, how do you move it? So considerations there. Then we start getting into we're into the top of the neck. What's next? Then we get into the brain stem, where all of our autonomic function is controlled. Heart rate, blood pressure, also controls our posture. Did you know that posture is supposed to be reflexive? So if you have poor posture, it's actually more likely a brain thing than it is a musculature problem. I don't pull as much as I push. It's actually supposed to be a brain structure set thing to all of the musculature of our body. Also controls global muscle tone, so how defined you are, how large muscles are, and it is also big. So we talked about posture, global muscle tone, autonomic function, and inhibition of pain. So if I have a healthier brainstem, I might not get that foot pain. If I had a healthier brainstem, I might not get that groin problem. If I had a healthier brainstem, I don't have that problem reaching for something in my top shelf. It's a big difference. And again, applied neurology is a paradigm shift. Instead of, ouch, my shoulder hurts, is it a rotator cuff problem? Is it a labrum problem? Is it a nerve pinch, damage, whatever problem? We can also add to the conversation, is it a brainstem problem? Is it a cerebellum problem? That would be another structure that coordinates all of your movement. Makes sure that you have speed, accuracy, and endurance of anything that you're doing when it comes to movement base. Also is a big part around thought and preventing unwanted thought. It's a lateral cerebellum is big on visualization. I'm reading a book called Chatter to try and help my internal environment. If I continue to learn, continue to improve my brain, it's weird that my mind is getting healthier and healthier from that approach. And one of the tools and techniques for just stopping that rumination, stopping that negative chatter, whatever it is that's kind of bombarding your thought process, is third-person visualization. That makes a lot of sense. A lot. Lateral cerebellum, about visualization. Cerebellum in general is responsible for preventing unwanted thoughts. I don't want that chatter. I would love for that chatter to go away. And by visualizing, you can make that happen. So I took that a step further and went, well, what else is the cerebellum focused on? Well, complex nonlinear movement. So if I'm visualizing myself doing complex nonlinear movement with my wrists, hands, fingers. Wonder what that would do. And sure enough, meditating last night was, okay, let me play with this third person visualization. Crazy hard, number one. I'm not good at it. Like I've visualized a lot in my own career, but it was first person. First person is different than third person, but that was kind of what I had. I never really spent a lot of time on third person visualization, seeing myself. And it really helped calm things down. It was pretty cool. So we talked brainstem, we talked cerebellum, the thalamus. The thalamus is a wild area. It's kind of like the gatekeeper for what we actually get brought to our attention. So if you didn't know, you are constantly receiving signals because it's so much easier to just say, no, not this time, than it is to go, oh no, we got to build that and let Joe know that something's dangerous, something needs to happen, whatever it is. It's just ready. Like think of us in just ready state. And if like I touch the hot stove, my thalamus goes, go ahead, let that pain signal, that heat signal, that whatever signal get to his brain. So he pulls his hand away. That's a part of our efficiency, and that's a part of how we can respond to things fast. So the thalamus is the gatekeeper. It says, no, not this signal. Ooh, yep, that signal gets through. Nope, not that signal. We don't need that signal. So really interesting structure in that way. It's also a big part of re-education of movement. The thalamus is something that you have to work on if you've dealt with painful movement for a long period of time, because it's so comfortable saying, yeah, send that signal down, send that signal up, we're good. We know this is a shoulder, deal with it. So re-education is a big part of, hey, let's move to here. Let's move to there. Let's point a laser on it. Laser training, light training, flashlights are phenomenal for improving ranges of motion because they get you outside of yourself and focused externally. It's a big part of reteaching the thalamus that this is not threatening. Then we start getting into the big brain structures of the cortex. We've got frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe, occipital lobe, and then deep inside there in the center is an association center, and it's called the insular cortex. So we have receptors, peripheral nerves, spinal cord, brainstem, cerebellum, thalamus, cortex, and insular cortex is like it. It's kind of one of the newer structures that we learned about. I believe that it came around because we took pictures of a live brain in a different position. So we took them from the back the whole time and we got a good image of what the brain structure looks like. And then someone did it on their side, I think. And then like a new area of activation showed up. It was like, well, what the heck is this? Where did this come from? And it ended up being the insular cortex, which is now kind of considered the fifth lobe of the brain, or cortex, instead of 4 lobes of the cortex. And it is a big one. Balance processing, emotional regulation, emotional control, internal regulation of our entire environment, internal feedback of our entire environment, internal environment, gut function, respiratory, heart. It's important. So if we look at behavior through this lens, and we kind of think about some of the things that we do in our days and how they might be negatively impacting our brain structures, some of the ones that initially come to mind, just because I see it all the time, is cell phone use. So if we take the average cell phone use, I work with a lot of kids, so we'll say, we'll put it into their world on how they do this. So think about spending an hour a day like this. Most people are much more than that. They're 6, 7, 8. But if we think about it and we go, well, we adapt to what we do most. So if I want a healthy brain for my sports, for my living, for my family, for my hobbies, my after-work sports, whatever it is, we need to think of the receptors, the peripheral nerves, the spinal cord. We need to think about that whole thing. So if we look at it and we go, okay, well, what's happening here from an 8 levels model? If I'm looking at my phone, what's going on with receptors? Well, I'm holding it. Maybe there is some vibration happening in it. but that's about it. So I'm getting some sort of receptor feedback from my hands. Peripheral nerves. If I'm standing, my peripheral nerves are making all the musculature work for me to be standing upright. If I'm moving my hands, peripheral nerves are supplying the information from my brain to execute the motor control the motor control of that movement. Peripheral nerves otherwise, there's one component that we need to be aware of, is that we don't have separate nerves. When I heard this was pretty wild to me. We have one nerve. One. We've named all of the branches. But in reality, it's one nerve. Our brain creates our brainstem, creates our spinal cord, and along the spinal cord, it creates branches. Branches out of the spine to go make everything work and receive feedback from everything. But it never disconnects. That's wild that we have one nerve. So, if I'm thinking peripheral nerves, hey, they make my limbs, my body, my legs work, and that thing starts in my brain, and now I hold my head in this position, which creates a tensioning of the spinal cord. Is it now possible to have a knee problem because of my phone behavior? We just talked about the neurology in its simplest version, so hopefully if you're following along, the answer is yes. Could absolutely create a problem. It might not be the problem, but this is the level of thinking that I've been taught. So, peripheral nerve. I'm creating more tension on all of the peripheral nerves because I'm holding my head in a spinal cord tensioning position. A spinal cord relaxing or slacking position would be an extension. So from a peripheral nerve perspective, we're already saying, I didn't think my phone use really mattered. And now we can go, all right, peripheral nerves, think about spinal cord. Spinal cord, is it stressed? Sitting in this position, if we were built to be upright, assess like vertical to gravity with our eyes on the horizon, that's kind of our default mode. Well, I just now created a spinal cord stress that is much different than what I was built for. And again, every once in a while, not a big deal. But what we're seeing is our behavior is changing our neurology. We are less athletic. Like I work with a lot of kids. I know the phone athletes. I know them. They don't move as coordinated. They show gait dysfunctions. They show visual, like they don't look at you. They don't even look near you. Like I know the kids that are on screens way more than others because I've spent 10 years building this awareness and perspective of how seeing a brain function through a person. Again, you're one being. So how you hold your shoulder, how you use your hands, how you walk, how your hips rotate. It all tells me something about someone's brain. And I know, like, it is so obvious now that that kid is on a lot of screens because they're adapting to that. They're not adapting to the sport. They are not athletic. And I think that athleticism is a foundational human quality. If you don't have it, something is up here. Something is going on up there. It's a hard thing to swallow, but we are supposed to be athletic. We're supposed to be able to do the movements and the basic movements especially without complication, without issue. But standing can be hard for a lot of people. That's a foundational athletic movement. Sitting, foundational athletic movement. Like we just think, it's not pro sport, so it's not athlete. No, everyone's an athlete. Just carrying your kid is an athletic movement. Some carry a football. I would say your kid is a little more important than the football player. So a more important athlete. So then we go into, okay, I'm holding my phone. I'm looking at it at my chest. We're at the spinal cord level. Then we get into the brainstem level. Your brainstem, part of it is for eyes. Part of it is for kind of face, mouth, internal environment, teeth. Then we get into throat, digestion, internal, our organ function, etc. So if we look at the top of the brainstem, cranial nerve 1, smell, not really impacted here. Cranial nerve 2, visual acuity, blinking. Now we're starting to go, ooh, our brainstem is being affected every time we are on our phone. And again, little bits at a time, great tool. It's an awesome tool. We're talking about the prolonged things that are taking away from real life. It's not a real life thing. This is a better, just forgot it. It's a better servant than it is a master. And unfortunately, it's become a master of many people. We build our tools build us. That's another way of thinking about it. So getting it back to tool mode is super important. Like, too many people their phone is their master. They dictate everything that they do around their day based on what they're doing on their phone. So cranial nerve 2, visual acuity and blinking, will keep it that simple. If my vision adapts to what I do and I am here more than I am here or even similar to the time, my visual acuity is going to adapt to a screen that size with the contrasts and artificial color or artificial lighting of that sort. And research showed that you can reduce your blinking rate by 60%. So now my cranial nerve 2 is stressed. I'm not getting as many breaks because I'm not blinking as much, and my visual acuity is changing. Cranial nerve 3, ocular motor movement. So we have eye muscles that make our eyes move. Think about how big they can move. I can look up and see the ceiling. I can look down and see the desk right below me. I can look to the left and see all the way to the other wall. I can look to the right. If I look to the left, if I look up, if I look down, if I look left, my eye muscles don't have to move while I look at this. They move very, very small. Think about how much they need to move in real life. Makes sense. So if I am now at 25% of my overall movement, imagine being able to move. If you can move your arms like this, imagine being able to move them like this. That's it. Is it going to impact your life? Yeah. Imagine any type of range of motion that you now have 25% of. It's not going to go as well. It's not going to be as good. So we go, all right, oculomotor, definitely changed. Cranial nerve 4 is a very specific eye movement, and we have adapted and evolved for a long time to make it this strong and have its own nerve, is eyes coming down and in to look at things that are close and within arm's reach. So that is, unfortunately, if you stood with good posture and you look down on it, that would be cranial nerve 4. But since most people that I meet are here with it, they're actually using more cranial nerve 3 and 6. Nope, it's within arm's range, so there's no distance vision necessary. So cranial nerve 6, we'll get to that one, is out. So really, they're saying, hey, let me stress the heck out of cranial nerve 2. Let me minimize the range of motion and activation of cranial nerve 3. And let's just ignore cranial nerve 4. 4 would be doing homework in a decent posture, working with tools. That's why we have it. Like every other, or there are 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 4 out of 6 that are 3, and then there are 2 others down and in and out that are a different nerve. And again, it's because of an importance level. So imagine if we couldn't look down at the things that we were working on, or it was a lot of stress. Probably not going to be building as many tools, probably not making so many things. So that's a big part of it. So cranial nerve 4 is actually kind of like, kids are going, no, I don't want to use that. I'd rather put that thing straight down the pipe. So cranial nerve 5 is your trigeminal. It is, every tooth is innervated by cranial nerve 5. Muscles of mastication that make you chew are cranial nerve 5. Tongue sensation is cranial nerve 5. Sinuses are cranial nerve 5. It's a big one. Like, it's a huge deal. And a lot of people have problems with it. Behavior-wise, I had a lot of cranial nerve damage because I had braces and I had my wisdom teeth taken out. And I got dry socket from that wisdom teeth, or a wisdom tooth extraction. So that led to a long-term issue for me. I had a lot of rehab to do on my teeth, on the inside sensation of my mouth, of my tongue, the muscles of mastication improving their function, how I bite. And it can all change. It's just we all do it. So it can't come with a cost because we don't want to know that we're damaging ourselves. So we just default it. Everyone does it. Doesn't mean it's good for you. Like, it means it's easy for you. Our brains are lazy. They want the easiest calorie burn and survival rate possible. So nice, we survive and this doesn't take much energy. That's what it would rather do. It's not about how much can I push, how much can I do, how great can I be. That has to be earned. You have to earn that component of our brain function. It's powerful, but it's not going to just give that to you if a lot of things are in survival mode. So cranial nerve 5, from a breathing perspective, that's the one thing I can think about. Our respiration rate changes when we're on our cell phones, so we're actually getting less of a sinus kind of stimulation from airflow. So that would be the case for 5, but some people, like, they're watching a tense video or something, they'll add some tension in their jaw. Cranial nerve 6 pulls your eyes apart. It's an eye muscle thing, abducens. It pulls your eye muscle or eyes apart to see distance. We are now in the first generation, or the fastest losing distance vision generation yet. The young kids now are at an alarming rate losing their distance vision because, again, we adapt to what we do. So if I don't need to see in the distance, I won't. And a lot of kids are driving later. They're electing not to drive when they can drive. That's a big part of the ability to drive, is see different distances. So we adapt to what we do. Distance vision starts outside of arm's length. So every time I'm on this phone, my brain says, let's adapt to close vision. We don't need far vision. We'll just keep our eye movements very small. We'll keep it right here. And there's no real reason to use my distance vision. So our distance vision is now affected. And remember, your brainstem is responsible for autonomic function. So if you have blood pressure issues, if you have any type of an internal regulation problem, cholesterol issues, heart issues, lung issues, digestion, you name it. Pain, if you're dealing with pain anywhere in your body, brainstem is supposed to gate that. If you have a muscle imbalance, everyone tells me I always skip leg day. I didn't. They're just little. Muscle imbalance might be part of that. A brainstem issue might be the foundation for your chicken legs. Or what I notice most is just one side of their body, the musculature is more defined. The other side is not. It's not the same. Then you also have the posture. So if you have poor posture, your brainstem is probably needing some work. And now you're starting to get just one behavior. We're only talking cell phone use. One behavior can impact a lot of my brainstem. So we're back to cranial nerve 6. I don't have to look at distance. I can stay right there within arm's reach the whole time. Cranial nerve 7. Facial features. Taste on part of your tongue. Could be active. Smiling. Whoa, shocking video. I notice a lot of kids, though, it's just kind of like it's a pacifier. Like there is no emotion happening. It's just kind of like. So hopefully you are getting some cranial nerve 7 because you're actually engaged in it. Ha, that was funny. Ooh, that looked bad. Oh, I'm surprised by that. Use your face. It'll help your brainstem. Cranial nerve 8, hearing and balance. Your balance system tells you where you are and where you're going. It responds to changes in head movement. It also changes to translation of your body and head in space. Hearing makes sense. I hear that. That's the same nerve. So we look at the cranial nerve 8 from the cell phone perspective. We go, okay, Could be absolutely hearing something. A lot of kids, though, or a lot of people, I keep saying kids, this is for everybody. Kids are just all over my world when it comes to working with people. So, hearing, definitely. If you're open air, that would be best. Just, the sound is on and I'm hearing it. But what I notice from a lot of people is they wear one earbud. That changes your brainstem. Could I have a right shoulder problem because I listened to an earbud in an ear and I created a brain imbalance to where now, let's say I always put it in my left. So my left brainstem, cranial nerve 8, is rocking all the time. My right doesn't get signals as much. Maybe that right starts to get depressed a little bit because this side is always partying and this guy doesn't get to come. Our brainstem is a left and a right thing. It's not one. We have a left function and a right function. So you can have a right blood pressure that's different than a left blood pressure. I'll say that again because I don't think many doctors are checking both. Right blood pressure can be different than left. I might need a statin here or a blood pressure medication here. I might be healthy and normal here. So you're going to put someone on a drug that has a lot of other effects that you don't want? Or are you going to leave them alone? Tough. Without adding neurology to our model, we're not doing people a great service. We're kind of guessing. Back to cranial nerve 8, head position. I am holding my head in an anterior position. So if I'm holding it off to a side, I will start getting more left or right activation. But if I'm straight down the middle, that is both anterior canals saying, our head is forward, do something about it. What does your body have to, or what does your brain have to do? It has to compensate for the difference in balance, or in gravity. If you didn't know, the balance system and the cerebellum are two of the primary structures that are developed in utero. So as a baby is growing, their vestibular canal or their vestibular system is the first developed aspect with the cerebellum right around it because it's the control center, coordination center. So just to have great balance without the control of our body, what's the point? So that is why that develops first. Is there is one constant in life, only one. Gravity. It's constant. It's there the whole time we're alive. So it is a battle that we have to have right out of the womb and in the womb because mom has to deal with gravity too. So if you are a person that wants to have a kid and you aren't pregnant yet and you're going to get pregnant, move. Move a lot. Pick all sorts of new habits that make you move. If you're pregnant now, move. Move a lot. Pick new behaviors and new habits that get you in all planes of head movement. So that's back, forward, side, tipping, angular movement with your head. Do stuff because it is massively important for your baby to get orientation changes throughout its growth. So we said, hey, cranial nerve 8, you are now you have to tell the body that my head is forward. So if my brainstem and my reflexive posture is not working, and I get to this point, what would happen? I go down forward. So now what has to happen? The posterior musculature has to work harder. So that I don't do this. They're just pulling me back so that my head can stay forward and my body can stay upright. So if you have a back problem and you're on this thing a lot and you use it like this, do I have to tell you any more? That's to a client that will never watch this, by the way. Every day he comes, we had a conversation. I went, okay, I remind you every time you're here, he walks in like this. Every session. He gets a back problem. He can't play his sport. Went, weird. And yesterday we had a conversation where I was like, dude, I'm done reminding you. You obviously do not care about this behavior, even though it could be the reason that you have a back problem. oh no, I care. And then just sometimes just saying I give up helps people along a little bit. But I'm not your maid. I'm not here to remind you to do things that are good for you all the time. I will help you with the habit, but at some point you got to take it over. So we just had a conversation around this stuff. And yesterday it was in his bag. I went, maybe something there. So cranial nerve 8 and cell phone use is a big one, especially if you're using it down there. I don't like my cell phone. It's a tool. I don't use it. It's not just a constant access to Joe thing. I need to communicate. I have communication times. I have windows. No notifications. Not interested. The only ones I have for anything, mom and dad. The only two that if I want to know if they call. Everyone else can wait. That's the reality of it. Nothing is that important that it's going to draw my attention, take me from what I'm doing, and bring me into this world. So I have built a life where this is a tool again. It is not something that I pick up because I'm bored. It's not an activity. I don't spend time on this. But most people, it's a master of them. They can't live without this. So when I use it, I'm much more here. Because again, I understand that we were designed balance-wise to be oriented against gravity. The more I change that, the more my brain has to work, the more stress I get. So if I can hold it here and adjust the distances, I'm minimizing that adaptation to something I don't want to adapt to. I don't want to be a screen time person. I want to be an athlete and a healthy athlete. So that's a decision that everyone can make on their own. You can probably get away with it for a while and you'll blame something else for the injury. But in reality, it could probably have been that you are a cell phone athlete, not a real athlete. So you go play your real sports, it works out for a while, couple years, 3 years, 4 years, and that came out of nowhere. No, probably earned it. It just takes a while. Our brains are that powerful and that amazing that they'll go, we'll manage this for as long as we can. And at some point, typically around another spike of stress, boom, something goes. Back, knee, hip, shoulder, finger, you name it. Whatever you can hurt could be a brain stem problem. Cranial nerve 8, cranial nerve 9, more like throat stuff, swallowing, gag reflex. Might actually use it more, especially if you're seeing specific videos that make you swallow. Oh, that's that food or whatever it is. So could be an effect, could not be. Vagus nerve, cranial nerve 10, the wandering nerve. Big one. Big one. That is the nerve that regulates all of our internal environment. It is connected to the muscle fascia. It is connected to the vagus nerve goes into your brainstem, into the insular cortex. So it is a big part of ultimately matching our internal environment to our external environment. So if I have blood pressure issues and there's no danger, I probably have some sort of an insular function problem. If I'm lethargic and I need to ramp up for a game, probably an insular problem. I'm tired when I need to have energy, could be an insular level problem. So vagus nerve, if we look at respiration rates because of screen time, it creates hyperventilation. So hyperventilation ultimately simply means I just keep sucking in little bits of O2 without blowing off the CO2. So I create a gas exchange problem that is ultimately not enough CO2 out to utilize the best O2 CO2 balance. And it is just a conversation, and your brainstem overall is a big part of this. Again, remember, autonomic function. We're just adding a layer to that autonomic function that we have the vagus nerve that is physically receiving all of the internal signals to work with the rest of the brainstem and the insular cortex on setting our internal environment. this is an artificial stimulus. It's not threatening, and it's not going to change you. It's not a massive positive that you need to pursue in life. So I changed my respiration rate. I am now panting compared to breathing normally. So my gas exchange has changed. We have a structure called the diaphragm. It is our primary breathing structure. When you inhale, there's this little tendon in your low back called the central tendon. It flexes. It pulls the diaphragm flat. That sucks air into your lungs. That central tendon relaxes. Diaphragm stretches back out, goes up your rib cage, pushes all the air out of your lungs. So as the diaphragm drops, air goes in. Diaphragm up, air goes out. So if you're not breathing normally and you're doing more of this, which is kind of that panting idea, think kind of like a dog would pant. That's kind of hyperventilation for people. But we don't get the cooling effect. So now my entire trunk, if you didn't know, you have respiration muscles all 360 degrees around your trunk. They are innervated by unmyelinated C fibers, 75%. The other 25 are the movement fibers from the cortical spinal tract. So if we think about that, you have more neural pathway for respiration than you do movement. Is it possible then that you could do respiration movement and increase your core strength the way that better than we currently do with movement? It worked in my case. Like I did all the core work as a strength and conditioning coach, as a personal trainer, and the respiration stuff was a different level, and it was super hard. So I'm a firm believer that if you like to do that core work, okay, but if you're saying I need a more functional core so that I can do all of the things that I want to do better, you're probably better off working on your respiration. And there's a lot. That is a rabbit hole. Maybe we'll talk about it one day on how much you can do around breathing. So respiration is super important. Now I put myself back into my behavior, wondering, well, what's going on? I'm here. So I have collapsed my rib cage. I've condensed the function of the diaphragm. I'm already not using the diaphragm fully. I'm using it in a partial range of motion. All of my respiration muscles are just kind of dormant. They're not working much. The diaphragm takes care of normal breathing. The trunk muscles like pec minor, pec major, serratus anterior, the inhale are designed for let me get more air in. The rectus abdominis, internal, external, oblique, quadratus lumborum exhalers. Let me get all of the air out and constrict and create a tight cylinder. That's not happening. And if you're going 6 to 8 hours a day, 2 to 3 even, now I've got a less functional trunk because most of it's about breathing. You can try and trunk twist it and plank it and crunch it and V up it and reverse V up it. And I've been in that world. I left that world because this stuff was way more powerful than anything I found in that world. So now I have a dysfunctional trunk because of one behavior in my day. Cranial nerve 10, so vagus nerve is stressed. Cranial nerve 11, protect your neck. It's all about traps and SCM function. SCMs flex like that. Obviously, upper traps flex like that. Often, you're getting cranial nerve 12 or 11 activation because you're stressed and you're sitting there like this. So I see a lot of shoulder tension, a lot of stuff going on with that. And simply, your traps are a part of the neck too. They flex like this. So if you are putting them on length, some people go, oh, that's a lot harder than just bringing the bottom of the trap up. So now I've created an environment where I've got really tight traps, specifically upper traps. My SCM, sternocleidomastoids, flex like this. So I'm getting a partial SCM flex too. But again, if that's the full range of motion, I'm getting a very tonic, isometric, hold it, right here. So I can end up with a really, really tight front musculature, a really pissed off back musculature, because again, I got to make sure that I don't fall over because I've changed gravity on my system. We're upright. That makes our system work so that I don't fall over because of the distribution of my weight out to the side. It seems so dumb. All this stuff seems way too simple to be true. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. If our anatomical position is upright and our eyes are on the horizon, and this is how our system has developed to counter gravity, and any change from that is going to require brain activation to counter it. It's going to create muscle activation, muscle contraction, muscle relaxation, tensioning without changes in length or in the muscle length. Lots of stuff going on. So we go, all right, cranial nerve 11, definitely different function, definitely different stress by one activity that I choose to do. Cranial nerve 12 is tongue, specifically tongue being pushed out. Maybe you use your tongue, maybe you don't, maybe you're not aware of it, maybe this is an opportunity for you to just numb sensation any which way, and it's just another, I just don't use it generally. So it's just more time not understanding that your tongue is pretty dang important. It's one of those structures that physically lives very close to the insular cortex. So tongue activation does a lot for vagus nerve into insular cortex, helping regulate our internal environment, regulate our emotions, improve our overall balance and how we are interacting internally with the external world. So there's one behavior. Tons of others. We could talk about driving. What does that do at the brainstem level? So we've just gone through receptors, peripheral nerves, spinal cord, brainstem. Now we're into cerebellum. Cerebellum is about controlling, is coordinating eye movements. It's coordinating different senses. So I look over there, I turn my head, maybe I hear, I look, I turn. All that has to be coordinated with the cerebellum. Every movement that you can do, cerebellum makes it work. If you have a odd movement, a inefficient movement, a movement that doesn't work so well, often your cerebellum is a part of that play. You also have to think frontal lobe and frontal cortex because that's our primary motor pathway. Primary motor pathway talks to the cerebellum all day, every day, inseparable if you are moving. So if we think about the cerebellum, I'm here. So I've got awesome thumb representation of my cerebellum. Not a bad thing. Thumbs are very important. Think about the rest of your movement system. How many hours? Cerebellum's just going, it's nothing to do with my body. So I'm just going to sit here and not activate. It does activate and coordinate eye movements. But we already talked about the eye movement component in the brainstem. So your cerebellum's going, oh, an easy day? Cool. They barely have to coordinate any type of movement. Thought? Prevention of unwanted thought? Yeah, maybe you saw something you didn't like and man, now I got to try and forget that. Cerebellum would be involved in that. Outside of that, you're not visualizing anything. So it's really underactive. That's like they call it the little brain. It's like one of the most active areas of our entire brain because we just constantly have to coordinate everything that we're doing. So that is just a deadener of the cerebellar activation. Thalamus, gatekeeper. It's a very there's a plenty of work for me to do to understand the thalamus. It's a very subconscious structure, very hard to look at deliberately and assess. It's more of like hey, let's re-educate your movement. But we know by doing that process, we are getting thalamic activation. So that part, we'll leave it for now. Then we get into the cortex. Your cortex is one of those places that is very, very active during phone use. Your frontal lobe. executive function, critical thinking, making sense of what you're seeing. So there's so much. Just go look at the frontal lobe. So your frontal lobe is definitely being taxed every time you're on a phone. It also is in control of your movement, all of the sensations. So it's not getting activation from its primary use, which is move. And temporal lobe, maybe you remember what you are watching, looking at, reading, whatever. Often though, with the kids, they don't remember anything. It's not about being used as an education tool, a way to enrich myself. Again, it's someone designed this for me to stare at, and no one's helping me. So I'm going to fall for what it was designed for. I will be on it as much as I am allowed. But it's not for the benefit of what that tool could be. You're not educating. It's just, I'm bored. Now I don't have to think about being bored. But that is not a good reason to use those. So temporal lobe, balance processing, and again, a lot of stuff lives in these areas. I am just on a thought, and I don't want to study for it. I think these are different. If I do, maybe eventually I will, but I still don't know what these are. This is just me getting things out of my head that I would like to share. Ultimately, like, this changed my life, so hopefully it changes someone else's too. Occipital lobe, visual processing, gets real tired. Like, this is, again, it's designed for you to look at. So the wavelengths of light are designed to draw your attention. So your occipital lobe, for as long as you're sitting there, it's just getting blasted with information, just continuing on. Parietal lobe, spatial orientation, sensation, probably dead when it comes to the screen time. Like, you kind of lose track of where you are. The understanding of where you are is gone. You're just kind of consumed into one activity. Insular cortex is absolutely active. You're responding to things emotionally. Your blood pressure is changing. Your respiration is changing. Your balance system is said, hey, we got work to do. He keeps putting his head in front of the body. Now we got to make sure that we don't fall forward. So there's association there, and it is associating all internal environment stuff with external environment. So it's trying to say, hey, how do we regulate with this? And often kids are unregulated emotionally, and they're just kids. And it's, maybe, but it seems to be a little more severe. Like, I have a friend that has like an 11-year-old daughter, and they found out that she was getting bullied on social media. 11 years old, heartbreaking. But she's getting bullied on social media. They're great parents. They're community-oriented parents. So instead of just, ignoring it, they went to the source. They went, let's go talk to those kids' parents. So, hey, are you aware that our kids are on social media together, and your kid, like, here it is, your kid is bullying my kid? Those parents don't want to deal with it. You go, no. Like, call the cops, call somebody else. Like, we give up, because that kid gets so freaking angry, so upset, makes their parents' lives miserable if they don't get this. That's not good. That is a dysregulation. That is a upset brain, and this did it for a lot of kids. If you're using screens for the babysitter, it's a long-term problem. Enjoy it. It's gonna come back and bite you. Be with your kid. Get them active in things. Sitting on a screen, staring at a TV, putting them on a tablet is such a short-term gain for such a nightmare problem later. So a lot of kids are dealing with emotional regulation, dysregulation problems. They have all sleep problems. The insular cortex is huge on sleep. Like, we're in an interesting place right now, and I think it's tipping back towards, we went too far, but I don't know if we're going to catch it in time. I think we are going to drastically change. I'm hoping that it's for the better, because applied neurology gets there first, but The only people that are going to be happy is our current medical system. They are going to get more and more and more people because more and more and more are going to have problems within their 8 levels, and a lot of it has to do with our behavior on a daily basis. We just talked about a phone and how that affects our nervous system from a lot of different detail points. We talked about the receptor component. We talked about the peripheral nerve feeding into my spinal cord component. We talked about the spinal cord and our spine generally. We talked about the brainstem and the 12 cranial nerves that fit into our brainstem and how they make us function and what happens to them when we're on that device. We talked about the thalamus. Unique spot, still have work to do on really understanding and figuring out how, like, is that more of a testable place? Like, again, a lot of how I learned about it was thalamic re-education. So if you got a painful movement, re-educating the movement using lasers, flashlights, something that just creates a novelty that's not, oh, yep, there it is. Yep, that's the thalamic response of, hey, let those signals come in. We've had them a lot. So just keep them coming. Sometimes it needs that re-education to go, dude, stop letting that pain signal in. It's all functioning better. So we can leave it alone. We talked about cerebellum. We talked about cortex and insular cortex. So again, like, if you'll know because you're not maybe doing the things that you want to do. Maybe you're not doing them as good as you want, or you found yourself kind of stuck in a hole. I always do the same. I wake up, I do this, I look at my phone, I do that. So what can you do about, how can you use this or be aware of it and improve your neurology so it doesn't have such a big tax? One would be create breaks to work on the vision deficits. Stare off into the distance for, said principle, we adapt to what we do. We adapt almost exactly. What we do most is what we're wired for. We are use it or lose it. So in reality, if you stare at that thing for 3 hours, you'd have to stare off into the distance for 3 hours. No one's making that choice. But even breaks of 30 minutes, let me stare off into the distance for a couple minutes. Let me blink because my blinking rate reduced for a few minutes. Let me breathe deeper with better posture and really focus on stretching that diaphragm and activating the trunk muscles of my respiration system. Kind of counteracts that. Changing what you're looking at is important. Change the background, change the color schemes, change the font sizes. All of that can help. Change your position. If I always look at it this way, can I start looking at it this way? Knowing that my eyes don't have to move much. Can I actually make my eyes have to work? Can I hold it over here? Can I hold it up there? Can I lay on my stomach and have to get into spinal extension to use it? There's a lot of options, especially once you know what it's actually doing. But we don't live in a world where we know yet. But I am seeing it. I am seeing less athletic children. I am seeing hyper emotional children. I'm seeing kids in pain with pain stuff that's what? Like, kids used to not get hurt. Now it seems like everyone gets hurt. What changed? This is a big part. They don't have to write as much in school. Screens are a heavy part of school. We made it easier on teachers. It made it harder on brains. We didn't know. And that's a lot of things in our life right now, is every time we make something easier for somebody or some population, we're actually changing the activation of our brain, and typically it's towards lesser activation. AI and ChatGPT, you researching makes your brain grow. You letting AI research and just finish your homework or your assignment makes your brain deteriorate. Deteriorate, probably not the right word. Underactive, less active, but in reality, seeing the changes that we have made so far, it is leading to brain deterioration. And I think that is a good way to close this, that the behaviors that we have in life, that we don't know the neurologic impact, are creating the mental health crisis that we have in our country. It's creating bigger issues for people, magnifying their problems, and bringing kids into a whole different world where they can't see past arm's length. They don't have emotional regulation. They get so angry and upset when you take away their addiction or their device, and they're dealing with pain in a whole different way. Like, kids are getting hurt all the time like older people got hurt last generation. So just knowing something about it is the first step to changing it. Now you know how much of your brain has to adjust, change, and create different activation just to use that thing. And again, it's a phenomenal tool. If we can get back to using it as a tool. I've had to work today for a good amount of time. It's 3:20. I've been on it an hour and 24 minutes. 30 minutes of that was a meditation app. 20 minutes of that was listening to music. 13 minutes on messages. So that's the most I have had to look at that thing. But again, I'm aware of it. It's not that I don't check it. It's not that I ignore it. I just build time in my day to use that tool. So make it a tool again. It's going to help a lot more.